Hello, hello, hello. That intro music always slays. I saw some of us are in the green room are head nodding and nodding their heads to that theme. So thanks again, George O'Connor, for always kicking us off with the ComixLaunch intro. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a special session, a pop-up comic creator mastermind live session. I'm Tyler James. I'm really excited to be with you. So what are we doing here? What are we doing? What is this all about? What is a mastermind anyway? Well, mastermind groups are groups that offer a combination of brainstorming, education, accountability, support, and they're designed really to help you sharpen your business and creative and personal skills. And a mastermind group is something that will help ideally you and your fellow masterminders achieve success. Now, what is a pop-up mastermind group is a special kind of mastermind group where it's a one-time event. It is often, it's a pop-up, and often the creators might not know each other terribly well, or it's the first time that this particular group has ever been assembled. But you'll find that these are still highly valuable and a lot of fun. Now, this is a pop-up group is a little bit different than the ComixLaunch Mastermind. The ComixLaunch Mastermind is a group that I run that I've been running for, I think, over 6 years now. And it's really designed to bring together creators that are serious about creating comics, serious about crowdfunding, and to support one another on an ongoing basis. And so the groups that I run commit to meeting for 6 months. And we do have a new group that will be starting up in January 2024. And so the ComixLaunch Mastermind, if that's something that you might be interested in, or if you watch this presentation, wish you could be a part of a regular pop-up group like this, but actually want more continuity, that's what the ComixLaunch Mastermind can provide. So you can get on our interest list at comixlaunch.com/mastermind if you are interested in that. Running comic creator mastermind groups is one of the most rewarding things I do. It's a chance to really dive deep into real challenges with real creators. It's a chance also to draw the collective knowledge and wisdom from the groups of creators. And it's a chance to meet new creators and make new connections and achieve just breakthroughs that you don't get if it's just one-on-one, or even especially just by yourself. And so again, I want to encourage anybody. We will be doing a live info session about the ComixLaunch Mastermind on December 12th, which is in a couple of weeks, 3 p.m. So get on the interest list, comixlaunch.com/mastermind, if you are interested in that. But tonight is a mastermind roundtable, and I am joined by an awesome group of creators in the mastermind. Tonight, we have Jack Harris, who is a comic and prose writer. We have Mark Abnett, who is also a comic writer. Alton Simpson, who is a writer and filmmaker. Melissa J. Massey, who is a writer and artist and webcomicer. And we have Adriano Ariganello, who is another comic book writer. So we have a lot of talent in the room. This particular, again, and these sessions will be facilitated by me, Tyler James. I'm the publisher of Comics Tribe. I'm the founder of ComixLaunch. And what I like to do and will try to do throughout this session is to facilitate the group, but definitely not lead it. I want to draw out the collective wisdom of this group to tackle some really great issues that each creator is bringing to the table. And so, it just in advance, usually mastermind groups like the ones I use and the ones that I run, like these are private groups. These are groups where, what happens in the mastermind stays in the mastermind. Stuff is not broadcast across the whole internet for everyone. But these creators that have joined me and are joining me today have all agreed to not just bring a real issue that they're challenged by to the group, but also to allow us to share it and disseminate it so that the whole greater comics and ComixLaunch community can benefit from the insights that we glean here. So I appreciate everybody's bravery and willingness to be vulnerable, share, and then also share your insights to try to help others Okay. I will also say that each member that is featured tonight in this mastermind is a member of ComixLaunch Pro. Some have been members for years, some have been members for months, but all have demonstrated a real commitment to growth and their own growth and their own education. And I've just seen within the groups and everything, they're also committed to sharing their knowledge and giving back to the community and sharing what's worked for them. And so I know that tonight's presentation is going to be a really high level quality mastermind session. So I'm really excited to kick it off. Just so that we are all on the same page as to what's going down, the core of the mastermind are what are called hot seats. And the way these hot seats work, the way I run them, is each creator is going to bring an issue to the table. And the creator will have about 1 minute to just present that issue or topic or the thing that is on their mind, the challenge, and just share what's on their mind and what they want the group's support on. We'll then spend a couple of minutes just discussing and clarifying, where we're going to try to ask a few probing questions of the creator regarding the topic. And this is so that we make sure that we're going to solve the right problem or the right issue. There often is a tendency to just want to jump in and start giving advice, but that's usually less effective without making sure that we're asking good questions and getting to the heart of the issue. Then we'll spend about 5 to 7 minutes on a solve phase, where we'll just try to pull from the group and see what ideas they might have as potential solutions or ideas or things that they want to suggest. And then we will come back to the creator and ask them just to commit to sharing what ideas resonated with them, and if there's any new actions that he or she is willing to commit to as a result of the time that we spent together working on that hot seat. So that's how the hot seats are going to work. They're a lot of fun. You'll pick it up pretty quickly. At the end of every mastermind session, I will also ask every creator to just share what their top takeaway or insight was from participating in tonight's session. Now, sometimes that'll be related to the topic that they came in wanting to get some support on. Often it's an insight from someone else's topic. And so I want to just encourage everyone, even when you are not, when you're not on the hot seat, you're not the focus, stay present, stay glued to the issues that are coming up, because chances are, even if you're not dealing with that same issue now, you may in the future. And so I'm also going to give creators the opportunity to share a little bit about the work that they do and where best to follow them and follow their work going forward. So that's another way we can thank them for taking the time to be with us tonight. So I also want to say for those that are watching live or on the replay, please feel free to add your insights in the comments. Wherever you're watching this, you may have some thoughts or advice or experience that can add to the conversation. So please share that. And we really do appreciate you tuning in. Okay. So with all that preamble being locked and loaded, let's get rolling with our first creator and our first hot seat. And so let me switch my view here. We're going to get my banner going, and we're going to start today with Jack Holder. Jack is the creator of Arcane Industries. His books include the fantasy comics such as Legends of the Realm and the Lost Heron series, which is novels. And he also has Interfaith works including Why Faith, The Great Commandment, and the upcoming Moved by the Spirit anthology. Jack, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tyler. Thank you so much for putting this together.
Thank you so much for being here. And I do know that we're going to get to your hot seat in just a sec, but you do have a cool new project that's a new something that you're excited about coming up. You want to just tease a little bit of what's coming up and Moved by Spirit?
Oh, absolutely. So my church that I'm a part of actually is sponsoring and bringing this to life. I personally love talking with people from all walks of life, especially if they don't gel with mine in artistry. And my church was like, we love fostering this sort of stories, comics, poetry that really don't get a chance to breathe, because why talk about faith right now? It's just going to upset people. So Moved by the Spirit is a chance for so many different creators. We've got over a dozen stories of hope and light. We've got comics, we've got short stories, we've got poetry, we have photography and illustrations. And that's going to be coming up very early in 2024.
Awesome. Well, we have links to the pre-launch page in the posts here, and so I want to encourage folks to check that out. You are going to kick us off with our hot seats today, Jack, and you have a topic that you wanted to bring to this roundtable around growth as a writer. Can you share a little bit more about what's on your mind and how we can support you today?
Absolutely. And for me, this problem is really how to grow beyond the confines of your own mind. Because so often I will be going down the rabbit hole trying to figure out the next story, the next comic idea. And I'll get really excited. I've got this idea fully fleshed out. And then 6 months go by where I'm just about to start finding an artist, or I'm halfway through the book and I'm like, I've written something completely similar to this. And I have just rewritten a different book. And so I'm trying to figure out how to grow beyond my usual ideas, beyond like the philosophical message that usually happens, or like even just breaking out of my genre constraints. For me, I'm like, there's going to be a dragon, there's going to be a giant snake, it's going to be magic is weird. It's how do you keep growing and not just do the same old with same book, different flavor.
Okay, great. Thanks for bringing this topic to the table. I want to start, as we always do, with some clarifying questions. So who has a question for Jack to get a little deeper on there? Let's start with MJ.
Yeah, Jack, is this the first time you've come into this problem, and did you find some way that solved this in the past?
This is not the first time, and usually it requires me taking such a hard right turn, but I want to be able to avoid that and start going down different paths intentionally, and not look around and go, whoops, I'm right where I started.
Okay, so a little less random than maybe you've done before.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mark, did you have something for Jack?
Yeah, I did. Structurally, and how you assemble your stories, do you generally tend to use the same patterns or rhythms every time? Do you have do you look to break down a story and tell it different ways from different point of views, or anything like that? How do you go about when you're sitting down and putting together your framework, or do you do a framework at all, or anything like that?
So generally I try to go from germ of an idea of that aha, and then it's brainstorming. You take the idea, turn it into a paragraph becomes a page becomes an outline becomes if I'm writing a comic, it becomes a full comics layout, and then I'm just filling in page and dialogue, page descriptions and dialogue. But I think if I were to change up some of this some of it, I might be able to break out of my usual habits of characterization and theme.
Alton, yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. So what genre are you working in now, and have you written outside of that before?
So I do a lot of fantasy, pretty much predominantly fantasy, and I've tried breaking.
When you say fantasy, do you mean like Tolkien fantasy, or what?
Pretty much the wide range. I've done urban fantasy. I've done post-apocalyptic. I'm currently spending a lot of time in that Tolkien-esque epic high fantasy genre. Want to break a little bit more into sci-fi, but my mind just keeps going, yeah, but what if magic was real?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked that is because I try and write. Most of what I've done is horror related, but I challenged myself to write outside of that. So I came up with sci-fi comic, and then another comic that's more realistic military style Punisher, female Punisher type character that's outside of my normal, wheelhouse.
Yeah, and I'm looking at doing a horror series, which, surprise, surprise, has some fantasy elements in it. Because I'm looking at something like what if Robin Goodfellow just showed up, the Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream showed up today and started having deadly pranks on the elite of today.
I mean, that sounds interesting. How much? I'm a research scientist. I had to research a lot when I did my doctorate, so I actually like research, which is most people don't. How much research do you do before you actually sit down to write?
I don't do enough research. I've got a couple ideas that I'm putting on the back burner because I know I haven't done enough research on it. Right. But it's running into one of those problems where it's like I'm too busy writing to research better writing.
Okay.
And have you, in your years of writing, have you looked at any books about books by writers? As I think Stephen King on writing and books like that as such. Have you tried to look at different writers from different genres and see what they've put out there as far as instructional books go?
I've read Stephen Sondheim's Finishing the Hat and Look Ma Made a Hat. Neil Gaiman's work, Orson Scott Card's How to Write Science Fiction and Fantasy, and Stephen King's On Writing. For those, I think sometimes my eyes glaze over because at times you feel like, yeah, I'm coming up on year 20 of writing, and it's hard sometimes when you're by yourself, and it's like I know how to write, but this is the question: how to write even better, how to make sure that you are in fact standing out, not just from the crowd, but from the crowd of your own work.
Yeah, and your own personal readings for enjoyment and stuff. Have you tried diversifying that at all?
Yes, I read a lot of histories. I read thrillers, fantasy, biographies. Need to do a bit more of poetry and hard sci-fi.
Okay.
All right. I want some good questions and clarifying. I think we're sort of at the heart of what Jack is coming to here. I'm curious, we have a lot of writers in this group. Does anyone resonate at all with Jack's maybe concern here that maybe I'm playing the same note or something like that? For me, one of the things, I have a series Epic, and one of the reviewers called me out that I started 3 of the issues sort of the same way with the old school Marvel, in medias res, like the action, and then we'll let like the big fight, and then we go backwards, and then we come back towards it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am kind of going to that, like I'm doing it purposefully and everything, but I was doing it again. So I had to, so like in my head, I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to do it every single issue, and we'll throw maybe some other curves into it. But so I've definitely had the feeling of like, oh, am I relying too much on the same kind of, the same writer moves? Anyone else sort of battle with this a little bit with their own work? MJ, what come to mind for you?
Yeah, there was a period of time when I was doing anthology entries, and they all kind of started as like, ha, this is funny, and like, oh, this is actually very sad. Like there was always that sad twist, and they solve it by the end, and it's heartwarming. So I resonate a lot with what Jack's going through, because that was a solid period of time where it's like, oh, I'm writing the same 8-page story over and over again.
Yeah, and Adriano, you work on a bunch of different stories, but like, have you ever sort of had the feeling that oh, wait a minute, am I ripping off myself or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had that feeling for sure, and I know the things I like, and I tend to stick with them a little bit, and it is hard to branch out, and I totally understand the feeling of, you try to branch out, you try to read things that are out of your wheelhouse, and they're out of your wheelhouse for a reason, right? So yeah, definitely definitely tough to do something that you're not totally into.
Yeah. So at least you're not alone with these feelings, Jack. I guess I'd like to just do a quick round the horn about things that you do or have done in the past that you feel has contributed to your growth as a writer. And maybe I'll start with Alton, and we'll get some feedback from the group here, Jack, and then we'll come back to you and see what sticks. And again, I did see it in the comment. Please, if you have writing growth tips and you're watching the chat, please share those. We'd love to have that addition to this live stream. That would be great. But Alton, you want to?
Yeah, sure. I think probably researching what my idea is for a long time. I might wait a year before I actually do something, because usually when I come up with it, I think to myself, seems like a great idea. Somebody else must have come up with this. I'm not some genius. So I look and look and look. And I think Sting said this about Every Breath You Take when he first came up with this song. He went to the other guys and said, is this already a song? So I take all that time to try and figure out if there is something similar, what's my twist on it that's personal to me to make it different. And I think there aren't that many original ideas left. So the only thing that's original about an idea is what you do with it. So it could be a similar genre that you've seen 1,000 times, but you're going to tell it your way. So yeah, I think researching a subject as much as you can, searching for similar things, and then putting your own twist on it is helpful to me. Also, I try and write outside of what I originally did. Like I'm doing Vampires of New Jersey #9. By the time I got to 9, what's left? Every issue I try and up the game a little bit. I'm an 80s kid, and you go see Indiana Jones 1. Then Indiana Jones 2, they're upping it. Then Indiana Jones 3, they're upping it. So I reread everything I've done before so I don't copy myself. And then I try and up what I'm doing to make it even more interesting or exciting. So it's challenging yourself.
Good stuff. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, it's interesting as you say. There's basically a lot of researchers and stuff have said there's like 7 types of story, and then a lot of it is, and then you've got Joseph Campbell and his hero's journey and that story structure, which is just everywhere in Dan Harmon's story wheel, which essentially is a take on the same thing, all that structural thing. I kind of love all the structural stuff, but at the same time, I'm quite willing to chuck it all out the window. If it ultimately, there will be stuff out there that you feel very familiar with, but at the end of the day, it's up to you having your voice in there, and what your voice is what makes you different from everyone else. And then even though you may feel like you're writing the same thing, you can still take all these structures and all these other ways of storytelling, and whichever way you tell it will definitely be different. And it's about, I think a lot of it is about identifying with characters in the story, not only as yourself from maybe your perspectives or point of views, but as you see others and how they would perceive things. So a lot of times I have people in my head, but people who I know when I have character X is a good mate, John, let's say, out of the top of my head. And how would John react in these situations and whatnot? And I try and then I go, all right, maybe not John, let's try Matt. How would Matt react in that situation? I do a lot of that, mixing and matching of people I know and how they may behave to see how that story could progress. I don't know if that helps you at all.
And Adriano, what do you do to stay sharp and continue to grow as a writer?
Yeah, I think Jack, you mentioned it earlier that writing's pretty lonely, but a big part of that I think is you don't necessarily have to share your whole story with everybody. A lot of times people don't really want to hear it when it's kind of undercooked, but you definitely bouncing your ideas off people, especially if they don't have the same tastes as you, it's huge. That's how you're gonna get outside of your comfort zone a little bit, because you'll kind of understand what attracts people to certain stories, certain genres, certain things. It doesn't always have to be writers, even it could just be friends, family, whoever, and really just bounce these ideas off of them, and see what comes of it, because you really get a different perspective on it. Maybe it's something, again, you gravitate to one type of story, one type of plot, what have you. If you're talking to people who kind of have different experiences and have different interests, it'll help drive your viewpoint, and maybe it'll give you new insight on what you're working on and maybe another way to tackle things. But definitely just don't be afraid to share your idea out there as much as you can, because you'll be surprised sometimes where it comes from and who it comes from. Again, it doesn't have to be writer friends, it could be anybody, but definitely share those ideas. Be annoying about it if you have to, but it definitely helps if you talk it out and really get those ideas out there, because it'll change the more you talk to people, for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that I've seen some writers that I've seen grow pretty strongly is they sort of make it a habit. They sort of treat their writing craft a little bit like exercise, in that some of the stuff that they're doing isn't necessarily ever going to become like a comic they're going to launch on Kickstarter, but they do spend a little bit of time doing writing specifically with the goal of like growing, right? There's a couple writers that I've seen who will just regularly challenge themselves to pull a random public domain or freelance character and write a short, couple paragraph treatment or pitch for what they would do or story, should the editor of any name that character call him up. And like, the more crazy that you could do, or the more random that you could do, it's like, hey, if I was going to write, Dick Tracy 2099, or if I was going to write, if I was going to get Batman, or if I was going to grab random public domain and just do that, like do these exercises of, hey, let me come up with something. So that's another thing. Another thing that Seth Godin said a long time ago, I believe, is, that the people that he knew that had the best and most original ideas usually also had the most ideas, and they burned through a lot of the bad ideas and were able to do that because they prioritize generating ideas and coming up with options, and not always going with like that first thing that comes to your mind. Because I've had that happen to me too, where I'll be writing a scene and then realize, oh, I've written this scene before. That's why it was the first thing that came to my mind, right? So that's something. MJ, anything to add in terms of growth?
Yeah, I've actually been kind of taking this season to turn in on my own writing. And something I've found that's helped me is sort of going through your own stories and breaking them down, whether it's using like tvtropes.com and looking up tropes on there and seeing if that fits your story. Or I'm reading this book right now that talks about universal fantasies in stories and like the things we like to see in stories, and that's why we love them. And kind of taking that more analytical approach to something I've already written has kind of helped me think like, okay, well, I wrote this, but like, what if it was this? Or, you know, understanding what some of these like universal story elements are that people love. It's like, oh, I've never written that before, but what if I did? Because, you know, this is why people like this. So it kind of helps me to get some new ideas, things I wouldn't have thought of before, because it's like, well, that's something, you know, I've never really read, but, you know, maybe this would be something interesting to explore in my writing. So, you know, whether it's picking up a book or going online to find resources to kind of analyze your work in that way from an outside perspective, if not your own work, maybe a series you love or a series like a friend loves, just ask them like, hey, what have you been into? Maybe they've watched something you haven't watched. And when you do that deep dive into it in that analysis sense, it might start generating some ideas for you like, oh, well, that's like an interesting idea and this is why it works. Is that something I could apply to the direction I want to take my work? It just kind of helps you get out of your own head a little bit and maybe see something from a different perspective.
Yeah. A tool I have that is kind of cool that helps with this is the Writer Emergency Pack by John August from Script Notes. And this is great, like in the brainstorming stage where there's just, you know, random cards, you shuffle, you pull something out. And like this one just says, lose the cavalry, take away your heroes, allies, and support, leave your heroes to fend for themselves, right? And so like sometimes just shuffling through a deck or pulling out something at random and thinking about how it might play out a little bit differently than you normally sort of construct or your ideas can go a long way to, you know, making it seem fresh without throwing everything out there. No problem. Well, Jack, based on some of the things that we're talking about here, I'm curious what stands out as potentially helpful for you.
I mean, Alton, what he said, first off, researching an idea even a full year, it's one of those where it's like I'm still young enough and like in the craft and publishing where I'm like, golly, a full year, can I wait a full year on an idea? But it's one of those things where it's it actually does help because I've sat on some ideas, like written a one-page treatment, stuck it in a folder called projects to do later, and it really it helped that story because I wouldn't come back to it for another 4 years. And what MJ was saying of taking that very analytical approach and actually doing the research, breaking down and examining just what my own tropes are to find ways to break through them is really going to help. But I think the thing that people kept coming back to is something that I've heard before is just because the story's been told 1,000 times doesn't mean it's been told by you. And everyone here has been really coming back to it's figuring out your voice, what makes your voice unique, and that in and of itself is is one of the big reasons where even as you grow, you're still developing. It's almost like digging a well and finding a new place to dig. It's deepening the resources. It's not taking away from your own special character.
Great. And any specific actions or things you're going to want to be more cognizant of just as you go forward with?
Well, I think I want to do, and what I've been hoping to do is sort of handle a few projects at once. You have got like Legends of the Realm is going to keep going, and I have the ideas for that to come till Kingdom Comes, excuse me. But there are a couple of books that I'm really excited about just in the conception stage that I really want to sit down and do the research for. And maybe it's splitting up my time more and that just managing my time better, where it's not just keep churning out words. I try to tell people a lot of times that writing does not just mean putting words on a page. And sometimes you have to follow your own advice.
Very true. Well, thanks for kicking that off, Jack, and appreciate your insights and the topic, and thanks everyone for supporting Jack on that. I did want to apologize. I actually had Jack written as Jack Harris earlier. Jack Harris is actually a member of the ComixLaunch Mastermind as well, so that must have been what was on as I was throwing these together. But it's Jack Holder, everybody, and we are glad to have him here in the roundtable. All right, so we are going to keep the show rolling here, and our next hot seat is going to be from writer Mark Abnett. Mark is staying up with us late on his side of the ocean here. He's up late, but Mark is a New Zealander living in Scotland. So how's that for an accent? He's the writer and creator of the Scholastic published series and Kickstarter funded series This Land. He's also the winner of the Millar World Talent Contest and was the second person besides Mark to ever write Hit Girl in comics. Mark has some cool projects coming up soon, and the next one I believe is called Schism. Mark, what can you tell us about this one? Oh, so Mark was good about
mute. There we go. Of course, I was. Brilliant. So Schism is basically it was a smaller project that was just released locally at smaller conventions, and me and a friend were doing it an issue at a time. We're up to issue 3 and expanded, and it's over 120 pages now, and we're ready to look. We're going to do it just as a straight graphic novel and not as single issues. We've got a lovely cover there. You'll see an image there by Goran Parlov of Punisher Max fame, and many, many other things. There's a pal of mine who was kind enough to do that. It's been over a year now since I've actually really started engaging. My last Kickstarter did really well. I'd end up getting the 5-issue series This Land, which was successful on Kickstarter, all 5 issues. And then I got a publishing deal with Scholastic in Australia and New Zealand, and they have done really well with the book. And I'm the kind of guy I don't like to launch a project till it's done. And we didn't launch the This Land books, the single issues, till each book was complete. Too many times I felt in the past there were a lot, especially because I was new to Kickstarter and didn't really have a name for myself or anything. I've seen a lot of people get burnt when one issue comes out and you never see anything. So I waited till all 5 issues were completely drawn, and then till issues 1 and 2 were colored and lettered before I even launched the first Kickstarter. With Schism, even though the preview page has been going for about a year, we had been hopeful to launch it in July. Chris had some other stuff that came up and life gets in the way. So waiting for him to completely finish the art, which I think he's on the last 2 or 3 pages now, which is great. So something that was going to launch in July, probably looking early next year. The other thing, I may pivot from that completely and actually launch the trade for this land, because Scholastic have given me back the international rights for that. They're hanging on to Australia and New Zealand, and I have the option to print trades of this land, which is already completed and stuff. But my biggest problem is I've been pretty much radio silent for 12 to 16 months because it's hard, especially as a writer. You're not always, cat's tails in the way, you're not always coming up with content that's probably shareable or clickable, or I haven't had a newsletter. It was going pretty well, but in general it was split up between some things I was interested in and here's some work coming out and here's a sneak peek or here's an example of this and that, and without having that content that I'd been part of the creation of myself, I kind of felt it wasn't worth sharing and yelling into the void every week, because I didn't want to. There's a lot of noise out there, and I didn't want to devalue the conversation I was having with my mailing list by just stringing them along till we were actually ready. And it shows that the book was not going to be ready, and the next book wasn't going to be ready in July. So I would have had to spend another 6 months stringing them along. So I just stopped doing the mailing list altogether. And I know that's not the best thing in the world, but I'm a bit terrified of how to engage them again and start building up that confidence in me and our books.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, great. So what I'm hearing is that you've got 1 or 2 new launches, but it's been a long time since you've launched on Kickstarter following the Scholastic deal. And
about the last Kickstarter would have been October last year.
Okay. And the email list, because you haven't had anything to launch, you've let that gone cold. And so now the question is how best to either warm that email list back up or expand the audience so that these next launches are successful. Does anyone have any other clarification questions for Mark before we get into some advice? Yeah, Adriano.
Have you seen any flux in the subscribers on your mailing list? Like, have you seen a drop or anything that's concerning you?
I haven't even looked at it.
That's
fair.
fair.
Oh my god, that's how bad. I wouldn't even know, but they wouldn't unsubscribe because they haven't received anything to unsubscribe to.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't even know if I'm still logged into MailChimp. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's my password? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm listening.
Other questions from Mark? Yeah, Jack. You're on mute, Jack.
That very much shows just how cold it was. Like, so what type of content were you showcasing beforehand? Was there anything like, this is the convention that I'm going to be at next month, or this is, here's a sneak preview of the comic that's coming up? Was it like that, or did you get into anything like, my kid just hit a home run in Little League?
So essentially, it would be work in progress, what's coming up, a highlight of my week that I've seen in media, something interesting and weird I may have seen out there that people might be into, a song that I've been into, and a TV or movie. Hey, you should try this. It's a bit weird. It's a bit different. I really enjoyed doing it, and it's good to share, you know, what I was getting into, and just by trying to think, oh, what am I into? Actually was quite enjoyable digging into. I found myself exploring new stuff as well. It was a very simple thing, and it was, you know, it was pretty much the 5-minute read type thing. It wasn't over the top, and it wasn't hard sell. It's like, hey guys, here I am. This is what I'm up to. But the first top third of that newsletter was like, here's something new and different that I've been doing with others, and yeah, there hasn't been, and this is weird, and this might be a purely perception thing. I haven't felt, because I subscribe to lots of stuff as well, and I check out of a lot of stuff as well. It's like, not for me. Because if I felt as a reader, I probably wouldn't want to deal with this and the same crap every week. And I assumed they would unsubscribe as well. Just logged into. I hope this is the wrong login, because it says I've got 0 subscribers. So I think this is the wrong login I've just gone in. So, oh god, that would be horrific.
I've never seen that happen where, you know, everyone just looks up old emails and then unsubscribes to those. So I guess one question that I have for you, Mark, is what's the story in your head of what would happen if you just went in next week and sent an email that was it just the kind of stuff that you just told me that you were having fun sending back when you were more regular with it?
I don't know. I don't know if that stuff would be good enough, but I don't know. And I guess there's no harm in trying, because it's been that long now. I would be like, hey, remember me? And, you know, and a lot of it would be platitudes about thanking people who originally signed up and why they did, and probably an explainer, because it wouldn't go in cold. I'd have to say, hey, I've been away. These are the reasons why. This is what I think, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I think people will appreciate the honesty. I don't think it'll go downhill in a ball of flame, but I think I need to at least map out and plan what I'm going to talk about leading up to the next thing, rather than just pop in and pop out again sort of thing. I like set up perhaps their expectations. But so let's say I do manage to hang on to the, you know, I think it was about 600 or 700, hang on to them. The next thing would be, how do I start growing again without, you know, having some really impactful stuff? What would be the best techniques at the moment to kickstart a cold mailing list?
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Or also say you've gone flat for a while. Let's say you have been doing one every week. How do you push it again?
Okay, great. All right. I want to
sorry, lots of questions.
Yeah, no. I want to open the floor here. You know, MJ, you're someone that I believe I saw a recent update from your list this week, and you've been doing it for a while, but I'm sure not. You probably haven't hit every single week and have fallen off the wagon from times and come back to it. What's your advice to Mark as the best way to? Let's tackle the first part of it is restart, and then, you know, we could talk about growing. But what would you say about best advice for restarting?
Yeah, you know, I try to send out every week, and sometimes I miss, and I just don't say anything. And people usually don't notice if you miss however long. I mean, you've been gone a longer time than that, so I'm sure maybe someone will notice. So it might be a good opportunity to reintroduce yourself again, remind people why they like you. Like, hey, remember I made this thing you like. Maybe you have something new to say about that thing from the past that, so say they came onto your mailing list because they really liked this land. You could say like, yeah, I was recalling when I wrote, you know, issue 1 of that series, and especially with the new book coming out, So you could spin up something like that. I actually ran out of ideas for things to say in my mailing list this week, so I just sent a picture of my cat. I just said, this is the cat, and that was the whole section of that part of the email.
That's that's a fun thing, because the day job actually, since it's been a weird year as well. But we run a doggy daycare now as well, so it's dog of the week, which I've checked with all my customers. It's like, yeah, but we're dog on the internet, it's fine. So, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Oh,
I love
yeah,
the
no.
I love
So
the
that would be-
animals. I love the animals.
So that would be perfect. Like, yeah, this is what happened at my day job today with awesome dog number 4. Anything like that. I do want to ask, has there been anything you've been doing in the meantime while waiting for this book to be done that you could share? Like maybe like I wrote this short story for fun, or this is an idea I've been playing around with, or anything like that?
I very much like to keep things close to my chest till they've been announced or launched. It's not a fear that the idea will be stolen or anything like that. It's just something I've personal opinion is of. You see a lot of people who just talk and nothing ever happens, and I'd rather deliver.
That makes sense, yeah.
But
yeah,
it's not a bad idea what you're saying. It's just something I wouldn't do personally.
So I guess because I was sort of went on the same line as MJ in that I got to imagine you, even if your book isn't ready to launch just yet because you want to be completely done, but if it's a graphic novel, I got to imagine you've got a significant chunk of it done, right?
Yeah.
And
over 100 pages. But I wanted to. Those last 2 pages, they could come next week. They could come in another couple of months. And so if I start, I don't want to start building anything to that I can see that track's laid, and I want to know, right, that is definitely, I can draw a line in it, and now I can start pushing that, and we can start from the back and just tease, build.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I would lead with, I would turn the first 20 pages or the 15 pages, or if that's too much, and the first 8 pages plus some character designs plus some other stuff into your digital ash can that then becomes the, hey, my audience gets this first. If you're wondering why, you probably haven't been thinking about me as much as I've been thinking about myself. But the reason
digital ash can,
the reason I've been so quiet is because I've been putting everything into this thing. It's about 80% done. I want you guys, my subscribers, people that supported my past stuff, to be the first to have it. And over the next couple of weeks, I want to take you inside the creation of this, why I'm excited, talk about the artist, talk about Goran, who make this the content breach, but you have the ability to come out with a really cool download that's like, oh yeah, this stuff is legit.
I'm just tapping away, right? And I'm like, oh my God, just yeah.
Yeah, and the digital, for those that aren't clear, like the digital ashcan concept is a concept we teach inside the List Launch program and the ComixLaunch Pro, and we really encourage that for people that don't have like a free issue to give away, but to put together something that feels like a really juicy free download that you can give to your existing list, and then you make that thing once, and then that also becomes potentially the thing that you're focusing on over the next 3 months or between now and when you launch to get new people on your list.
Yeah, I just realized that the pop-up on my website will send them to the ash can to this land, which was completed a year ago. And it's not all that. I just need to get that off there immediately and now put up a schism one. I was just, yeah, okay. Oh my goodness. So that's, more homework. I did manage to look. I do have, there's 681. They're still there.
Still there. All right.
But yeah,
so
growing that again. What are so let's say at 60, 81 is still there. What are a good way to engage with them to encourage to grow that audience even more? don't want to take up too much time here because this is already, you guys have already got my brain going in the right direction. So thank you.
Jack, and then we'll hear from Alton.
So if you're looking on audience growth sort of things, the first thing that comes to mind because you're on a deadline is something like list builders and giveaways. I believe it's called King Sumo.
Yeah, got that. Yep.
Doing one of those giveaways, getting like maybe a $50 worth of relevant to your work graphic novels and adherent swag, and saying, hey, you sign up, you're entered. Oh, and by the way, you're gonna get the ash can, and you might even get like some freebie other comics from me for signing up for the newsletter. So no matter what, you're gonna get this much content, but you're also signed up to possibly get this much content. That sort of thing, like making your own because you're on a time crunch, but also looking for list builders. I've had some that have added 100, 200. I've had other list builders that have added thousands for my subscriber list.
And that was, did you push that via Facebook ads or just get your subscribers to push it? Or
both some Facebook ads and pushing it through the subscriber. I think one of the best things about King Sumo is that if they share out the link, they get more entries to win, because then you have natural growth. And then, of course, doing things like being on here really helps, and being able to plug. It just you being you, like with your socials. Oh, come on, Mark. You know this right here. People, first reason people buy is they like you. That is how I funded like the first 6 of my Kickstarters. It wasn't people looking for my books. It was people wanting me to write the next one.
Alton, any thoughts for Mark? Mute bug.
Yeah, I have a thought. I have a thought that my son from college keeps calling and it keeps coming on this line. I'm sorry about that. Emergency beer fest somewhere in University of Delaware right now.
Okay.
What was the question again? I'm sorry, I got a little distracted.
So, I mean, you've been creative with your audience growth and audience engagement, but just any other ideas for either getting back into sending that email list or growing the email list in advance of the next Kickstarter?
Look, if they took the time to be on your email list, they're interested in what you have to say. Because I got to be honest, I've never had an email list of any real size. That's my one failing. First, 5-6 years ago, my wife said you should be taking everybody's emails, and she's right, because I've done so many conventions and so many book signings and so many things. My list would be magnificent by now. But if they're willing to take the time to give you that information, then they're waiting to hear from you. They're curious. They're like, I wonder what he's doing now. So I think it's more, you need to get over the anxiety of what they're going to think and just reconnect. It sounds like you had a good, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and, conversational relationship with those people. So I think you'll be able to establish it by just being your natural self and say, hey, this is, like you said, this is what's been going on. This is why I haven't, and now I'm back. Yeah. I think it's time.
Yeah, I think you're really right about this. I've been doing lots of conventions, and I haven't been books have been selling well, really good.
Yeah,
but I actually haven't been pushing people to that mailing list either.
Right.
Instead of business cards now and notes on the back of the book, I do a really thin print, like it's only 125 GSM, like almost just over A4, but it's a print of some of our characters, and then my name and social media under it.
Right.
But if I could put a QR code at the bottom of that, and that'll take people straight to the mailing list, because I give away hundreds of those bloody things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking off what you said, about your wife telling you that.
Yeah.
I'm pulling all these little ideas. Oh, okay. So that's the next thing to do. Right. Thank you very much. Oh my goodness. Right.
And, one thing that I'll just give you a word of encouragement is that the nice thing about the Kickstarter platform is that people don't necessarily need you to come out on a monthly basis for them to remember you. Using the Kickstarter's internal tools like messaging past backers, or even using things like ComixLaunch if you have enough past launches where it makes sense. Reminding customers that you have something new for them to buy is usually the easiest way to make more sales, because even if it's been a while, even if they haven't been hearing from you every single week, the fact that they've bought something from you in the past and hopefully enjoyed it means that they're already warm to the idea, right? So
I've just realized I didn't even, in my last Kickstarter on Backer Kit, there was the option, do you want to sign up to the newsletter? I didn't even download all those names and add them to the mailing list. I haven't even done that.
If this thing were, if there was,
that was
only a
question,
couple things to do. Yeah, go ahead.
In the last year, were you doing a lot of these things yourself before, and things have changed a lot in the last year?
Yeah.
It sounds like you might need to delegate some of this to somebody else, which has always been my problem. Not trying to do everything myself and bring in somebody, trusting that person to do what I would do. But it sounds like you're at the point where you got enough going on in your life and also professionally that you could use, a hand. So that was another question.
That's a very good point.
So this has been good stuff, and we're actually going to have another hot seat that's on a related topic with Adriano around audience engagement strategies. So I'm going to cap this here and just ask Mark to just reflect on what's most actionable, what's one or two things that you got to make sure that you go back and rewatch this if you need to, but take action on.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Do you want me to say what I?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just there's a few basic house cleaning things. Obviously, I've got to do housekeeping things, and just provide. Be confident that I can engage, and be confident. Yeah, as you say, that people were there before. They're not going to just run away. And it's a realization for me that maybe I actually had more to say than I thought I did, but doing it in a carrying on how I used to in a structured, well-meaning way. And I like to under-promise and over-deliver. So I think I'll probably be doing a lot of that. So yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, that does help clarity.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you, and appreciate this conversation and everybody's support of Mark. All right, we are going to move on and over to Alton this time. Alton Simpson is a PhD. He's a filmmaker, he's a writer, he's a creator of 5 shared universe comic series, including Vampires of New Jersey. He also does Werewolves of Brooklyn, Witches of Westchester, Bunny Goes to Space, among others. He's raised over $150,000 in crowdfunding over the past several years. And his 10th Kickstarter is coming up very, very soon. What can you tell us about, tomorrow launch? All right. What can you tell us about this this sort of your flagship series, Vampires in New Jersey, Alton?
I was shooting a film in 2010. It was in Philadelphia. It ended up in the Philadelphia Independent Film Festival. I wrote it and produced it and directed some of it. And one of the guys on the set showed up, and he kept talking about True Blood, how great it was. I never had a chance to see True Blood until it went off the air. Then somebody gave me the DVDs, and I watched it, and I said, well, this is a great story there, but it's very Southern and very Gothic. What would happen if they showed up in New Jersey? What would Tony Soprano do? So that was kind of the impetus for the beginning of this. I didn't know it would be a thing. I did the first issue. My wife said, get a great artist. She picked out a guy who actually had drawn Silver Surfer for Marvel, which I didn't know, Mahathir Buang, and took it to my local store where I buy my comics, and they were nice enough. They said, the paper's good. We'll put it in the store. And then 2 days later, my buddy texted me and said, it's sold out. I went to get your comic and it's gone. And it's sold out at 25 stores between Philadelphia and New York. Sold out at Jay and Silent Bob's 7 times, all issues. I did a signing there last year, met Kevin a few times. It's just grown and grown and grown. Actually, just people started wanting to cosplay my characters, and they wanted to have an Alton Simpson day this year where they cosplayed them. And I said, I'm Alton Simpson, and that sounds lame to me. So why don't we, have a Vampires in New Jersey convention? So we actually just had one November 18th, and it went really well. I didn't know the location. It was also where Terrifier 2 was shot. So they actually contacted me to come to my convention to sign stuff where they shot the film. So I've been lucky. I worked hard. I listened to Tyler. I was actually selling out in stores before I did my first Kickstarter. I actually had funded my first Kickstarter when I took Tyler's course, because I felt like I had a great team and they knew everything about Kickstarter and I didn't. And I think management of anything is better. And you respect your managers better when they have some skin in the game. Yeah. And they've done the job. Not that they're telling you to do the job, but they've actually been through it. So that's why one of the reasons I took Tyler's course. And that was, I guess I took that after my first one, and that was 9 Kickstarters ago, really. And now the 10th one's coming. So.
Yeah, you've been stacking up the wins out, and it's been fun to see.
Well, I'm trying to keep up with you, Tyler.
No problem. Well, you've got a good topic for discussion here. You want to share what's on your mind?
Yeah, in general, I've had one of my titles did, I think I do an art book when I come up with a character just to test the market to see if people are interested in the full comic book. The art book allows me to experiment. I go to 10 artists and I say, give me your version of this character. I came up with Bunny Goes to Space specifically for Kickstarter. I wrote it because most of the Kickstarter things are female-led, comics. She's like Harley Quinn meets Barbarella. So it freed the artist, because in the world of the universe of Barbarella, there's no, this could be a spaceship. There's no aerodynamics. There's no anything. It's just all imagination. And that did, I think the art book did 19,000, and then the actual comic book did 37,000. But my average for all of them, when you put them together, is usually around 13 to 14,000. And what I've noticed is, in general, for the other comic people that I know, their Kickstarters are kind of topping out at less and less and less, because the market seems to be saturated, because so many of us are doing Kickstarters. And I feel that the market is shrinking. I was looking for some tools that I might not have thought of in order to increase, the market or attract more people outside, because I seem to be carrying the same people pretty well from Kickstarter to Kickstarter, which is great, but I would like to break out of that a little bit.
Yeah. All right, great. Questions or clarifying questions for Alton? MJ?
Hello. So you mentioned you don't have a mailing list. Are there any other ways that you bring people into your ecosystem? Do you have like a social media fan page where people come to, or a website?
Yeah,
or
I have 4 Facebook pages, one for vampires, one for my company, one for Three Heads Comics, which, has become, because once I came up with more than one comic, Facebook wouldn't let me change the name of my comic page from Vampires in New Jersey for some reason. And excuse me. And a page for the actual convention, which was instrumental with me selling a lot of tickets before the convention to make sure people were actually coming, which was nice. Also, I have an Instagram. With Kickstarter, I basically, my updates, since I have 9 Kickstarters, that's maybe 1,000 people, maybe more, over, of all the Kickstarters. So when I send out an update, I usually get a good response. I also was running Facebook ads and doing different things, but the algorithms changed a lot in the last 3 years. You would post before and you'd get a little bit of attention. Now it seems like you post and you get no attention. So it's been a mix of those things. And even now I posted an update of my new launch, only not to so much to Facebook this time, but mostly to past people who my Kickstarter update list. And I think I'm at 150, between 150 and 200 signups in the last week, which is pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'd say.
Well, I try. You shoot for the moon and you hit what you hit, but
So, do you know? Do you have a fair idea what your current demographic is like? Is it wide and varied, or is there a certain age group and area that flock towards your books? Or
hard to say. I mean, if you look at, and I post pictures of when I do a con, who buys the books, it's all different people buy the books, all different ages. So that's tough. And now that I'm shipping with Kickstarter, I'm shipping, common sense would say this is a Jersey thing or a New York thing, because it's vampires versus the mob, like True Blood versus Sopranos. But I ship everywhere. I ship to Australia. I ship all over the place. So
yeah,
I know it's horror related, so that it is people who do like horror for the most part. But some people are just intrigued by the idea and they open themselves to it. And I get lucky. Once I get them into the first graphic novel, they're hooked.
And store-wise, just on a distribution level, you said you're in a lot of stores in your area.
I started
pushing further out and overseas as well. Just
no,
shipping is a nightmare, but
yeah, I haven't branched out with stores. I have stores who want my comic, but I'm so busy. I do everything myself. I'm so busy shipping out of my house that I don't have time to go to stores per se. I usually do signings, but I was restocking, like Fat Jack's Comic Crypt, which is the oldest store in Philly. I was, doing all that myself until I got busy with Kickstarter. And now it's pretty much, I finish one, people get their books and they say, "Oh, this is great. What do you have next?"
I wonder, just on that, do you do retailer options on your Kickstarter? Because it was really interesting. I was talking to someone the other day who a store that I buy my books from, said, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this." So what? They didn't even know I made books, and I didn't realize I hadn't even told them about it. And they said, "Tell." They said, "Put a retailer option in there, and we'll back it." I'm like,
yeah, I had somebody request that, and I was actually going through my old Kickstarters to see what I did before, and the people that requested didn't use it. But yeah, I'm open to offering that just to have it, so it's there. But
it's almost like
the question
it is pre-ordering, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting the word out to those retailers, which is tough,
Yeah,
because they're busy too.
Any other questions for Alton, or are we ready to share some suggestions or ideas?
Ready for suggestions?
So I guess if we're talking specifically Kickstarter, I guess like as of right now, I don't entirely buy the premise that Kickstarter is a shrinking market. Okay. And part of the reason is like, hey, they broke the record again, like in the last 24 or in the last 12 months in terms of like all-time most funded comic, right?
Yeah, maybe I phrased it wrong. I think it's segmented differently than it was a couple of years ago. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
and so, but in just sort of navigating and seeing what's going on Kickstarter, interesting. Like, there's a project right now that is illustrative of one of the ways that you can address shrinking sales in or expanding sales in a shrinking market. There's a project by a wildly successful creator already named Dan Mendoza, who is crossing over with.
I've been on shows with Dan.
Right, and his current project is Lady Death versus Zombie Tramp, where his project right now is like over like 700 or 600 more backers than his all-time high.
But that's a symptom of the issue. Marvel and DC, when they had slacking sales in the 70s, figured out, how do we juice things up?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, let's have Spider-Man and Superman, get together. So to me, that was a sign of the apocalypse in a way, because they had to get together in order to forward what they're doing. I know it's a creative endeavor,
Yeah.
but team ups, there's a reason for team ups. Marvel and DC will start doing movies together when the money runs out of the other way they're doing business. It's just a matter of time.
Oh, true, but hey, they're still around, right?
But yeah, Dan's a genius, and and Lady Death is quite amazing.
He's an institution, but the concept. This also reminds me of another creator who just had his biggest launch ever, and part of the reason was because he kind of found a new market by collaborating with an influencer, like an influencer streamer / model, and it was like got his book and some collectibles in front of a whole different market, and was able to sort of build on people that he already had, but also get exposed to a new audience. And so it does seem like your properties or your flexibility in terms of, what you're going to put out to the market could potentially lend itself to some smart crossovers with other similar projects on Kickstarter. So that could be one thing that you, think about down the line.
Yeah, I've been approached by a few.
Yeah.
And some of my characters were similar to their characters. So I felt like, in a way, I can't say, their witches are better than my witches in a way. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I think you're right. There's some similarities or some synergy that I might be able to get connecting with similar characters.
Yeah. Other thoughts for Alton?
Yeah, I think there's one thing we're probably all missing, is that we are very much in the Facebook, Instagram realm. Twitter's a bit of a garbage fire. There's about 8 other social media platforms out there, and then there's TikTok sitting there as well. It's its own beast, and you got to be pretty savvy for that. But as you say, there's a lot of people out there who are younger people who are, and perhaps working with them to try and because they're all over it. They love that stuff. Working with someone younger to establish. Again, I'm talking directly to myself here as well. Good God, there's opportunities there, as you say, and through TikTok partnering and whatnot, and getting a little bit of more exposure and heat behind it. Tyler, just another thing. Is there any? Do you deal with Comics Hub with your publishing at all? Which is okay. You don't, obviously, you don't know what it is. No, that's cool. Sorry, no. Comics Hub was basically a whole lot of comic book stores. Alton, you might know, heard of it. Whole lot of comic book stores use it as their ordering platform. It's like a subset of their website, sort of thing. And I just wonder if there's a way. Probably not, to kind of tie in Kickstarter into that, but I think it's more based on diamond order numbers and things like that. But it might be something to look at the future. How, because Comics Hub's pretty large now. There's thousands of stores around the world which use that system. Is there a way to tie in Kickstarter orders into that as well? For those retailer packs that we're talking about earlier on. Sorry, well, might not be helpful, but might be an idea for the future.
I mean, finding more distribution streams for the books that you're already creating. Create it once and distribute it wide is definitely another option. Any ideas, Adriano? Anything for Alton?
Well, yeah, it sounds like you're pretty well connected. So I think, at least more so that
I'm connected to you guys. That's
it. Fair enough. But yeah, I think really, leveraging any of those. I mean, I know you mentioned you don't really have a mailing list going, but trying to get on other people's mailing lists, doing some cross posts, things like that. Yeah, that'll definitely help at least introduce you to some new groups, right? Without having to do that full crossover with your own work. Like you're still putting yourself in front of those people. So, things like that. You know, this social media and all that is a whole different beast, but you know, at least the mailing lists, you're with a captive audience that'll, you know, you get the right people, the right lists, you're putting yourself in front of the right groups for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks.
MJ, anything?
Yeah, because I'm thinking that it sounds like you have a pretty solid like online community. You have a really good digital ecosystem between your Facebook pages and your grams and all of that. So I've been trying to think of, is there a way like you can kind of energize them that maybe, you know, people on the outside could see like, oh, they're having a good time in there. Like I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you run any like kind of online events or like a membership drive kind of adjacent thing where it's like, hey, for the month of, you know, whatever, you know, join my Facebook, join this, you know, and you'll get a chance to win this, or everyone's going to get, you know, some kind of low effort reward, like maybe some like a PDF or, you know, some kind of digital version of one of your books, something like that to just kind of drive that excitement, maybe get people in your ecosystem. I will second that as long as you're not morally opposed to having an email list, you know, just get those people in a space you can control, because we all know how these platforms are getting wild and crazy these days.
Yep. Sounds good.
I mean, as a fellow New Jersey, and if you did a comic about vampires eating Taylor ham, I mean, I would buy that. So, you know.
Thank you. Ham. I'm writing it down. Nice.
Look at that pork roll.
Yeah.
And Jack, anything?
I mean, always going to be echoing the email list. I had a lot of diminishing returns. I had 3 issues, 1, 2, 3, for my Legends of the Realm series. Just kept dropping backers, dropping interest, and it felt like getting harder and harder.
Mm-hmm.
And this last issue, which was September and October, it funded like that. It became my number 2 bestseller, and I somehow I didn't know why, and then I remembered that I spent like the previous couple of months just doing nothing but hyping it up, and not just online at the email list, but I was getting people at conventions to sign up for my email list after buying the books, because, hey, I've got this next book coming out and you're going to love it. And you're going to get these sorts of things as well. I think the reason we keep harping on email list is because you can funnel so many things and efforts into that singular area, and then we've got this one area that I think the rest of us would say is the most reliable. I think the only thing more reliable is past Kickstarters in that particular field. The only reason we know that is Kickstarter is now giving us live data, a lot more live data with its dashboard analytics beta. And for those of you who don't know that, if you're running a Kickstarter right now live, the platform's giving you so much more information than you've had access to before. Like, you're able to tell what percentage of certain campaigns backers have returned. It's been godsend.
That's good.
Yeah, and something that I want to say, kind of like a universal, like if you ask just generic, like how do you survive in down economies, down recessions? Like, one of the things that everyone will tell you is, you know, customer service, customer retention. Hang on to the people that you have, treat them very, very well. And that's often the difference between the companies that go under in tough times or shrinking times and those that thrive. And you know, I could just say that's something that it's clear you're already doing at a high level with throwing your own convention for your fans and for fans of the stuff that you're doing. And but you may also think about, like, what can I do to reward returning backers, customer loyalty programs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do.
Prizes, delights, you know, just picking random backers at
Can I
random.
second that? Especially super backers as well. Send them a Christmas card. You know,
That's good.
at the very least.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's great. That's just a great overall pro tip right now to get those Christmas card lists. You already have their addresses.
That's right.
Vistaprint will do it for you. Like you don't have to do anything. Just upload a spreadsheet.
Send it out. Yep. That's great.
Yeah, great piece of advice there. Alton, just any reflections or thoughts on what was valuable from this?
Yeah. Well, obviously the power of the email list. I will have to start including that with my pitch. That's been my issue. My issue is where to put it. I know it would be towards the end, but I'm pretty happy to get the money at the end. So I kind of have to, get the money and then, close with the, email pitch. Yeah, all of these are good ideas. The idea with the Comics Hub, I like a lot. I'm curious about that as far as distribution. Yeah, I'm pretty flexible. Everything I've done as a response to either the comic book store owners said, you have 5 issues, do a graphic novel. It'll be easier for people. So I did them. So then they sold. I pretty much respond to what my market tells me that they want. And I'm lucky that they do. They'll just come out and tell me. Yeah, all of these are solid things, and I'll try each one. Thank you.
Awesome. So thanks, everyone. We have 2 more awesome hot seats to go. Just a quick reminder that if you are watching this on the stream or catching the replay and are like, man, I wish I was in this mastermind, or I wish I had access to a group like this on a regular basis, that's what the ComixLaunch Mastermind is there for. This is a group that I've been running. These groups, we reload them every 6 months. So it's sort of new blood and returning members. And it's an opportunity to workshop ideas, get feedback, get support, brainstorm challenges. It's a lot of fun. It's probably the thing that I enjoy doing most. And we will be reloading and making some new groups in December, and then starting with fresh in 2024. So if you are interested, if this is an idea that, hey, maybe you'd want to be a part of to help level up in 2024, please go to comixlaunch.com/mastermind and get on the interest list, and we'll tell you all about it over the next couple of weeks. All right. So now we are going to jump over to Melissa J. Massey. Melissa is a creator who has been creating fantasy comics and web comics for many years now. She is, during the day, a UX strategist and digital marketing expert. And she has a chunky cat that you may see pop up here and there, and is just very accomplished on Kickstarter. She has a couple of different series that she's successfully funded on Kickstarter, and it's great to have you here, Melissa. And I know you just wrapped up a Kickstarter, but speaking of email list, one of the easiest things that you can do to get people on your email list is offer up a free comic, and I know you have one of those. What can you tell us about your work and anything that people can get from you?
Sure thing. Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, I'm your purveyor of fine fantasy comics and tragic shenanigans. I am sending out my email list pretty much weekly. So if you want to jump on in and see everything I'm working on, see things that I'm into, and just kind of keep up to date on when that next book is coming out, you should hop on my email list at melissajmassey.com/welcome, and you will get a very nice preview of my Turkish fantasy series, The Alchemist of Aurelia. It's a nice 16-page preview of the first issue. You get that for free when you hop on, and some other goodies as well. So I would love to have you join me every week and just be part of my comics journey.
Absolutely. And so you're bringing a hot seat that I think a lot of creators are going to relate to, but share a little bit about what's on your mind, Melissa.
Yes. Oh, I'm so tired. So I actually feel like I have very similar energy to Mark this evening in that so I work a day job. It's I'm in the agency world, so sometimes it's early starts, late running, meetings running over. It's been a hectic day, so that's taking up a big chunk of my time. And then also, we bought a house, so there's the addition of trying to balance house maintenance and my day job and this comics career that I'm trying to keep moving. And it's been a lot of just flying by the seat of my pants, trying to keep things moving as best I can. I know there's all these things that I should do or things I'd really like to do. Things like more Patreon exclusives. It seems like I can never keep my Patreon up and going, or, just more consistent social media posting to try to build that audience. And but I just get so caught up in trying to keep the lights on, and it seems like things that I thought were going to take me a shorter amount of time actually end up taking longer. And I know there's some efficiencies to be found in there. I've tried hiring someone to help with social media posting. I accidentally forgot to talk to him for 2 months, and then I got an email like, "I'm sorry, I didn't live up to your expectations, Melissa." And I was like, "No, I didn't live up to yours, personal assistant." So I can't even delegate very efficiently. So I'm just looking for ways that I can find those efficiencies, or maybe better plan out things so that I'm not just frantic constantly all the time. And be able to make some steps forward as I'm trying to grow out the business as well.
Very good. I want to let's dial in with some questions first for MJ before we share our best advice for being more efficient with the time that we have to create. Jack, I know this is something that is definitely on your mind as well as someone with whose young family is expanding yet again. So, but what questions do you have for Melissa?
So definitely feel your pain and empathize. When I look at efficiency, I want to make sure, are you trying to figure out what areas you need to slim down? Or is this more about a reorganization? Or are you looking for things like techniques to almost stretch the hours of the day?
Yes. No, if I had to pick one of those areas, definitely maybe some ways to reorganize some things so that I can focus better. And then I feel like that'll kind of snowball into making the hours that I do have stretch a little further.
Good. Alton, do you have a question?
I was going to say, as far as planning now, how far out ahead do you plan to do things?
I don't really. I usually write my email the night before it has to go out, and maybe I've put something in the last week email about something I was going to promise to talk about the next week. Sometimes not, so then I send pictures of my cat. There's like the intention of I would love to launch a Kickstarter in March, early next year, hit that Q1. But I don't have any idea if I'm going to be able to hit that exactly, right? So it's kind of just guesswork at this point.
Okay.
More like hopes and dreams.
Yeah, Adriano, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have a set time that you're able to work, or is it just kind of as you find time during the day, you're kind of making it happen?
Yeah, my most consistent time I can get work in is generally between 7:30 and 10. Sometimes I also get a little time in the morning between 7 and 9. So, stealing bits in the day when I can around my work schedule, and then just other life obligations.
And I'm curious, is there a time, or can you think back to a time when you felt like, hey, I'm really being productive in this little phase of time, or things are really rolling? And when that was the case, what did that look like?
That is a good question. I feel like maybe a season I was more productive was, I mean, probably years ago when I was younger, when I could stay up till 1 a.m, when I didn't have a husband and a cat who needed my attention, where it was just me coming home after a day of work and just being able to get to it. It kind of felt like that was a productive time, but that also could have been because my art wasn't as good. So I was just like dashing it out. And the stakes were much lower back then. I'd say maybe some other times I've felt more productive is when I'm in the earlier stages of putting out a book. So like the storyboarding process and then getting into pencils, that part always feels like it goes pretty fast. And then it just kind of crawls to a halt when I get to inking and colors or whatever process I'm doing.
I've got one. Do you, with your art, and I'm not familiar with your art style, do you use any, and this is something I'm very interested in trying to incorporate in my writing, are there any efficiencies you can do, whether using something like, I don't know if you use SketchUp, do you have scenes that happen in familiar places a lot of the time? Could you model up a town or a village, which would take a lot of time and investment, and then you don't have to do it again? And like, I don't know what your art style is. I don't know if you could do that in something like SketchUp or other things as well. Are those sort of artistic efficiencies that you could speed up your process at that end? I'm certainly not condoning AI art myself or anything like that, but there are other things that isn't AI that you can build for your background characters or your scenes or settings or stuff and create that database, build that stuff. Do you do anything like that? I don't know.
I'm actually just starting to get into digital drawing, so that would, I've started using some 3D models to help with some things. So that would definitely be something I'd be interested in diving into. It's kind of one of those like finding the time to learn it.
Yes,
like you said, it's a big upfront investment. But yeah, I've already started utilizing some copy paste for background elements. So I've started into that realm, definitely.
All right. What I want to do is just we'll do a little round the table here and just kind of share something that you do. It could be a habit, it could be a structure, it could be just a quirky thing, but something that you think brings this idea of efficiency or helps you get stuff done with whatever time that you have. And it's okay if it's something that like you used to be good at, but you've maybe fallen off the wagon. That's what this is here for. Also remind us, because I mean, I've definitely had that. Like there are times in my, like I'm probably not in the most productive time that I've ever been in my life right now, but that doesn't mean that I can't remember what worked back then and start getting back onto that. Who wants to get us rolling? Mark?
I'm thinking I work really good under pressure and deadlines. You give me a deadline, I have it finished. You tell me any time in the next couple of weeks, forget about it, I won't do it. You're telling me you need it tomorrow night, I will boil and whatnot. But usually I've done it, there's preparation involved. But a lot of that is, I do like structure and I do like mapping out originally where I'm going. And if I have that structure and framework of, okay, so what's the project? It's X amount of pages. This is the idea for it. I feel that for the story to work well, I probably need to block off this section for this much for this much for this. And then I go section by section and draw it down. And that helps my efficiencies. And I may not have I kind of know what I'm doing each page, but then if there's a deadline, I'll just tear it out. That's just how I work. Because even by doing the preparation and the planning, a lot of that thought process has happened for me. So everyone has different ways of working, thinking. Efficiency for the comic business, a big part of it would be art for you, I think, because as you said, the social media and the connectivity thing, it's hard and it takes time. The reward is there from the guy who hasn't done it for a year. But the art thing might be moving forward where you get your most value, speeding up process and finding efficiency, going into the digital realm a bit more and creating assets. and when it comes to your writing as well, how can you be smarter with, I haven't seen you, I don't know, how can you be smarter in giving yourselves scenes and setups that aren't going to be a crowd of 1,000, oh, we're in a cave. And the worst thing I did, I thought I was clever once, and I thought, oh, okay, actually, they need a journey through a cave to get somewhere. So that'll be a lot of dark things and blah, blah, blah. And that'll save my artist heaps of time. And then I forgot to actually tell him to, this is an opportunity for you to get some more pages done under his belt. And he actually did detailed cave walls and stuff like that. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Writing a script for yourself. So there are little, and you'll be aware of them as well. There are little shortcuts you can do there. But I think technology is going to be your friend in the future. And if you can get your, and again, the accepting that there is going to be time investment to learn these things, and talking to people who do use, not me, because I don't, I know of them, but talking to artists who use them and use them effectively and have good processes with that. And that comes down to lettering as well. I don't know, you letter your own books as well?
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah. So Nate Pecos's Blambot book for lettering. Jesus. Have you got that?
I've read part of it. I borrowed it from a friend for a hot minute, and yeah, it's incredible.
Oh, it actually is a guide. Like, it's not like do this. It's like, no, click this button, then do that button, that button. It sped up so much time for me, and because I had to letter some of my things in a crunch when I was dealing with back in editors on the other side of the world for something, and I couldn't get my letter to do it, so I had that, and I was actually changing the lettering around and stuff like that. But anything that can make your workflow in the art better will help you spend the time needed to drive your business and other things like that. So
yeah. Let's get a few more efficiency tips and tactics. Jack, what would you have in mind?
One of the things that really helped me out was a big sit down with my partner and being able just to go over the entire business. When you were talking about what you want to do, you were talking about things like Patreon. You wanted to expand things with your newsletter. You wanted to do this, that, and the other thing. Being able to sit down and talk gets you thinking about, okay, where am I at? What is my business at this point? And what's the next step that I'm trying to be at? Is Patreon going to help me? And it's literally just being able to have that conversation in much more detail than a pop-up mastermind of going over the numbers and your personal goal. That way, you'll be able to see clearly, okay, I can't do this thing. It's going to take way too much time out of my day. But on the other hand, maybe adding like a quick sketch that I can give to backers, and it's a good exercise. It's going to help me out. That just having that one big drawn out meeting, I think would really help you, because putting it on the books again is going to make you pull together all the necessary data.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, I know, like, life changes, things, schedules get updated, but sometimes we don't update either ourselves or just the people that are, in our lives with the new plan or the new thing. And so, I remember that there was conflict early on with my wife when we had first moved in together. And I think she wasn't prepared for the amount of time that I actually would put into trying to get my publishing efforts off the ground. And I was used to sort of being able to just throw as much time as I had. And I also sort of had that internal drive, like, if I'm not working on, if I'm just doing nothing, well, that's time I could be working on this. And if I'm not working on it, well, then I feel bad about myself or whatever. And what really helped there was just, hey, let's take a, fresh look at the schedule, the work schedule, the, priorities, when is certain stuff getting done? What time do we, want to spend together? And when we're in that time, that's not time that we even allow ourselves to feel bad about not working, because it's blocked off. And then when you actually do have chunks that, hey, this is time that I'm reserving to work on my thing, that can be sacred time. And sort of knowing, that's another thing, just as a tip, to know how you work best, and how, because I feel like there's probably an optimal length of time that you work. But if you don't get that optimal length of time, then you like the work that you do get, because you don't never get a chance to get into your flow states or anything like that, won't be as good. And so that can be something that you want to look at. It's just hey, what, do I need 2-hour chunks? Do I need shorter windows? Do I need longer windows, but less frequently? And just get that time carved out on a schedule can really help you make the most of that time when you have it. Adriano, any tips or things that you do that help you get things done?
Yeah, for sure. To expand on that. So, I'm in a similar scenario where I have a little bit of time carved out every day. It's basically get home from the gym and then before work. That's my period of time. So the key thing is actually using that time to do the work that needs to be done. That's the biggest challenge. It's so easy to just hop on YouTube and waste a couple hours away very quickly. So I use a couple tools. I mean, you can use whatever you want. I use To-Do List. It's just a to-do list app, but it lets you set deadlines, lets you set priorities. So it really allows you to you sit down and you know what you have to work on, right? You know what has to be done, how long you have to do it, and you kind of just sit down and you get going. Because otherwise, it's very, even when you have to take some time to think about what the first step is, that can take you down a whole road that'll just eat up all your time, and that's it. Now you're back to your day job, and your day's gone. So you really want to just be able to sit down and get started. I do find again, whatever tool you use is fine, but just having your priorities kind of aligned and even some deadlines and knowing where things should go and what you should be working on now really does help make you utilize that little bit of time that you do have to work on what you need to work on.
And Alton, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what everybody else said. Real quick, I know I use the notes on my cell phone. If I'm not while I'm driving, but if I'm driving, or between doing other things in my regular routine, if I have an idea that I want to organize my thoughts very quickly, I'll put it in my notes. Maybe these are 4 things I need to do by Friday, and also use my calendar to help organize things. And I can look back at that and follow that as a way to make sure I get things done. Also, set aside specific time in order to work on something specific. I only write a certain time of year, usually in the fall. I like to write at my in-laws' house in Czech Republic, because they have a bench on their land and it's nice and quiet and it's scenic. It overlooks the town. And I just spend, when I'm not doing vacation time with my family, spend all my time writing the whole week. Every time I get a chance, I write. So that's just that 1 week or 2 weeks a year, I focus on writing. And the rest of the time, I'm doing all the rest of the things like we're all doing. So be flexible, but stay focused.
Yeah, I like that season mentality. I think works for a lot of creators, that you don't necessarily need to be doing all of the things all of the time, right, such that you feel like you can never get it all done. But over the course of a year or a time, if you get your marketing, your creation, your professional development, your networking, and have a seasonal approach, I think that's a really smart idea and cool approach, Alton. The other thing that I just want to comment on, because you had mentioned it, it's hard, even if we're like a boss at work or have people direct reports at work, like delegating for our own passion projects is hard, and it's something that we need practice at in order to do it. And I had, in the last couple of months, just brought on a new VA, and she's tremendous, but it's mostly on me to it was important for me to give her some weekly recurring tasks that didn't require me to do anything else, so that if I go down a tunnel, she just is able to do something, so that keeps it going. So that's one thing that helps. But then also, understanding the concept of, and being okay with, like, whenever you have someone else take on something or take something off your plate, it's going to be more effort and more time for you to teach them the first time, and maybe the second time, and maybe even the third time. But the 52nd time, like, they're going to get it done with a diligence that, because you're outsourcing it in the first place, you would never be as disciplined with doing it as yourself. And so, I just have to continue to remind myself that it's a process, and it is about finding the right person, but also getting comfortable with how you train them up so that they can support you and take things off your plate. But when those things come off your plate, that's how you are able to be in more places at once, get more done in limited time. And so I'd also encourage you, like, don't give up on that idea, because it is tough, and it takes most people a couple times before they are able to really just get that down. So Melissa, just any reflections, anything here resonate, or any actions that you want to take or dive a little deeper on?
Oh, so many things. Everyone said so much helpful stuff. I think the biggest thing is that the concept of the big sit down, I never thought to do this before. Like, I talk to my husband all the time about, like, what I'm working on, or usually it's just me going, and, he goes, and then that's the extent of it. So I think we really do need to have, like, this sit down conversation. I think it might even be good for me to just organize my thoughts in that way, in the framework of this big, almost kind of meeting, and then really be able to look at the business and get a sense of organization, because I don't think I've looked at a lot of areas of it in a long time. So I really like that idea. I love the idea of being more seasonal, because I kind of am seasonal with just how my production schedule seems to run. So maybe there's, like, something in there that I can leverage to kind of get more of that efficiency. Maybe I just say, like, for a couple weeks, I'm just going to write scripts, and, like, that's going to be the end of it. That's something I want to explore. And then, there's definitely, now that I'm starting to learn more digital, there's definitely a lot of efficiencies that can be there. Actually, I know Ryan Kroboth has been hitting me up. He's like, I'll teach you to color digitally. And I've been in such a state, I haven't been able to think about it. But maybe that'll be the next thing I do is, I'll start going around, setting up those assets, getting things kind of in order, so that when it does come to art time, bang, 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 just get it out. So there's been a lot of great stuff here to at least help me get going in the right direction. So thank you so much, everyone.
Well, thank you, MJ. Definitely a topic that we will all come face to face with, wanting to get more out of the time that we have. So that's something that never goes away, but hopefully these lessons we can all learn a thing from them. And I definitely will probably be making a few notes and taking a few of these on board as well myself. All right, so we have rocked 4 hot seats. We have 1 more to go, and up next is Adriano Ariganello. He is of Pesto Comics fame, has successful projects, a couple successful Kickstarter projects under his belt, including Unlimited Udo and Stay Cool, and has more to come in the new year. He his work tends to stray in the realm of thrillers and pulpy sci-fi, and really great artists he's working with as well. The next thing that you have coming down the pike is a crazy latte thing called Love. What can you tell us about that one, Adriano?
Yeah, this is this is the next project coming sometime next year. So as you mentioned, some great artists working with me. This one is Mattia Monaco. So he just came off of doing Chicken Devils for Aftershock. So I was very excited to get him on board to work on this one. But yeah, it kind of leads into my question that it's it's a lot of work to get this comic done, and it's just starting. So I got that pre-launch up way early in hopes to get some interest going. It seems to be going pretty well. We're over 50 with followers so far, so not too bad. But now I'm kind of in this lull. Mattia's working away, but it doesn't. I also don't want to push him too hard to get me stuff just to share it with the world way before we're ready. Kind of similar to what Mark was saying. You kind of want to have everything ready and done before I actually launch anything. I'm a relatively new creator on my end, so I want to kind of prove that you're going to get something that's made and finished, and it will arrive if you back it. So I usually wait till it's done. But now the runway's a little longer than I'm used to. I usually, I've been daisy chaining these projects that, the next one's kind of on its way. So I have something to share. This time what you see is pretty much what I have today to share in terms of art and that. It's a great teaser image, but it's one teaser image. So I'm wondering what do I do in this lull? How do I, keep some interest going when I don't really have much by way of art specifically, but really anything at this point to share. No character designs, none of that. That's all kind of in the works. And again, I think Mark and I kind of overlapped a little bit, but I don't want to share too much without having that date in mind either, because it's still so early. We haven't really set a date for launch, so I want to know when the launch is before I start, really get rolling with all the marketing and that properly. So what to be done in the meantime is the question.
Yeah. Anyone have clarification questions for Adriano? Yeah, Alton and then MJ.
How long is the gap between your Kickstarters usually?
It was the last one was about 4 months. So I had some art to share right away.
Right.
So I was pacing it out in such a way I wasn't fully ramped up, and I would share a little bit, 1 or 2 things a week. This time it's a question mark. It's could be a few months. So yeah.
Okay.
And have you shared out anything at all about this title with your audience yet, or just so far this pre-launch page?
Pretty much the pre-launch page, and then also in the last project, the back page of that was the ad for this. So it was shared out a little bit. Also with the, unfortunately I'm on Twitter is my most, that's where I have most of my followers. So I've been incessant on there, and then the mailing list, I have the header that seems to get folks in, and I usually mention it here or there. As a reminder, like, hey, check out the pre-launch. But again, it's been the same kind of message over and over. So the pre-launch, not much else.
How much of this world, I know this is a one-shot, but how much of this world do you have developed in your mind in like a story Bible in prose or poetry?
Yeah, so it's fully written, fully done. It's with the artist now. It's just nothing's been drawn out.
Not the script, Adriano. I'm talking the world itself that this comic comes from.
Yeah, so I have I have my story Bible and that set up. It's in a spreadsheet, but but yeah, it's fully thought out. It's pretty much like ready and established. But again, yeah, all prose, all written out.
All right. So yeah, so this is really a question of, so is your question like specifically what kinds of content should I be putting out in the lead up to this launch? Because, but I know I don't have art, and I'm feeling like whatever I put out isn't going to be enough or relevant. Is that?
Yeah, it's how do because in the past I found the art's what hits, right? Being able to show something to say, here's a panel, here's something, here's a character from the project that's coming up. That seems to be what gets the attention. Even in this case, I got that teaser image and then I saw that immediate spike, right? But again, Twitter being the writer's platform, I guess, for lack of a better term, right? Like I get some traction there because I'm able to kind of put out a blurb here and there and say, hey, if you're into this kind of thing, maybe you'll like this. But outside of that, like I don't have anything visual, so I'm wondering what alternatives, what can I do here to keep interest going and even draw it out. Considering again, this could be, I'm aiming for like March, April, but that's wishful thinking at this point, right? Like I don't have a firm deadline with the artist right yet, so
Yeah. Yeah, Jack.
So right off the bat, you've got something called Crazy Latte Thing Called Love. One of the best ways to keep momentum is to be funny and engaging. I would do something like I'd go on Canva. If you're just the writer, I'd go on Canva. I'd make funny drink recipes, and I would be dropping them every week if you could, every couple of weeks if it takes a little bit longer. If you can make it tie in a little bit to what's going on with that, drinks, cookies, bagels, like that's the sort of thing that you can drop, and because then you have an image that you can put not just on Twitter or X or whatever the flip we're supposed to call it.
yeah.
You can put it on Facebook. You can put it on your newsletter, Instagram. You can even have some fun a little bit on TikTok, making the drink. And that way you're giving people an active thing to check out and maybe try out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And actually, my mother's a baker. I didn't even think of that, but she definitely has some cookie recipes to share with me. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I've just been listening and my brain's spiraling a little bit, just realizing all the stuff that I could and should be doing as well. But based on what everyone else is sort of saying, you don't have a lot of content yet, but there's a couple of previs sketches and stuff like that, maybe. No, zero visuals at all.
Zero right now. Yeah,
Zero
like it's
visuals.
coming. I said,
Okay,
I know that's coming.
Cool.
But yeah.
So, a lot of it could be about your inspiration.
Right on. Okay.
Like focus on what inspired this, what things that I like drew me to this, and inspiration being, like you say, the recipes and crazy recipes, whether it be food or coffee or food or drink or whatever, venues that, and scenes in films, or let's say the cafe and friends, or I don't know what the story is. I'm just kind of spinning out of my backside here. So inspiration could be a really good one. Behind the scenes process is also very good. So you do have a script, so you can still maybe look at, like you said, the story Bible and stuff like that, and show things like that aren't quite the final cut. This say I have there's a scene here and it came about from this, and this is how I got there, explaining his thought process. You can do creator cards, like rookie cards, baseball cards about yourself and about your fellow creators, stuff like that. And then you can spin off on that, and you have your cards about you and yourself, and then your cards about locations in the book when the art comes in, and then you can use art from the character cards, sort of things like that. And using Canva is really good for that as well. You can bang something up pretty simply and coherent with that. What is the other thing I've been written down here? Script process, recipes, songs as well that inspire where this came from or whatnot. And one thing that's sort of not quite what you're going on, but it's a good value proposition for the Kickstarter, is something I done for my books as a director's cut. And by director's cut, I have a thing where it's completely digital. You have a page of your script. There's a script, and then on the next page you have the pencils, the inks, the colors, maybe not even the letters, but it shows here's from A to Z. You've already got those assets, so it's not something. It's a bit of time pulling them together, but they haven't. The script, as you know, can be a lot different than what's on the page, and it would provides extra value for the readers. So you could do that with your older works, pull that together with content you already have, and say, hey, just to show you this is stuff this is how the process works. But I do it as a PDF, so it's the full issue as a reward. It's one of the things that if they get the digital copy, they'll get this as well. If they buy the physical copy, they get this as well. It's always just trying to add value to everything.
Yeah. I want to piggyback on that, because that's definitely something, like, just because this is the next project that's coming up doesn't mean the only thing that you have to talk about is new stuff to your audience. In fact, some of the smartest things that you can do, especially because I believe you're putting stuff out on Substack, you're active on Twitter, so you're getting a mix of people coming back to your work, but also new eyeballs on the stuff that you're doing, is find reasons to talk about your backlist as well as what you're working on next, because there are going to be people that, if whatever you write about some project, they're like, oh, that looks cool, I can go buy that, okay, cool, and then you're making sales. My buddy John Lees is really good at this. He, like, his Patreon, like, he just does, like, posts a page from past work and does like the creator commentary a page, and does those. Those are like his weekly Patreon updates. But sometimes he'll also write short stories in World, and so he's been doing that for years. And like, one of his books, we're actually going to hopefully do a collected oversized hardcover, but he's got all this content that's never been published outside of like a Patreon, like his Patreon behind the wall or to his email list, but it's never been in book form, that, we can flesh out and add as deluxe back matter and expand it for the expanded edition. And so doing that is definitely helpful. I also did, I saw your email, I think it was yesterday or whatever, that you sent out, and something that you do is you talk about comics that you enjoy or comics that you get, or I really like hey, I'm curating these digital subscription services that Marvel and DC put out to, shine some light on some gems. Well, that gives you some art, right? Because you can share that art. And it's sort of like yes, it's not just your stuff, but you give enough good recommendations to people when it comes time for your own thing to come out. They're going to be like, oh, this guy's obviously got good taste. So let's check out Adriano's book, right? So
I just can't believe I don't actually talk about comics I read in my newsletter. I just realized, oh my God.
It's easy content. Something new every week.
Are you kidding me right now?
Right.
And reviewing Kickstarters that I buy as well.
And I mean, it seems like, for whatever reason, like, we feel like we have to wear the label of creator and come up with stuff from whole cloth. Yet if you look at like the top 20 creators on the internet, like in terms of just like, we make content on the internet, what are they doing? They're talking about other creators' videos about other topics, or about things in the news, or or they're commenting on the comments on somebody else's comments, right? You don't have to start every conversation, right? So, and in fact, joining conversations that are already going on tend to do a lot better than just trying to say, hey, let's talk about this thing that I'm the only person in the world talking about. So, like continue to do that. And like Chip Zdarsky's email popped in my inbox today, and he just told a story from his life that was a well-told short story and anecdote. It was on brand for him because it was funny, but a little bit edgy and a little bit real, and a little bit unexpected. And that's another thing.
And a little depressing.
And a little depressing. Oh yeah. but that's sort of, but if a good writer is a good writer, whether it's comics, prose, or just telling a story. And so building that habit of practicing good storytelling in whatever medium you're doing is important. And I think it is also important for comic book writers to have some places or some ways that you deliver story content that doesn't require an artist, making it look pretty for you. And so I see people like Frank Martin took this challenge where he wrote like 100 word stories, and he's always sharing those as like recurring content, or continues to do that, or continues that exercise. But it's just like great little exercise. I know other artists will like take existing art and just recaption it. It's a great little exercise.
That's
sorry,
good. Yeah,
sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark just went on to a second notebook.
Yeah. Recaption comic pages. Yeah. But I just say real quickly, I think Chip's Substack or newsletter, it's kind of like one of the number one blueprints for me, because it's short and sweet and just delivers every time. And he is funny, admittedly, as well. But he doesn't, some of them you open up like, it's a slog. Yeah, forget about it. Yeah. So I quite like his just getting to the point and hit and beat sort of thing. But
I was gonna say, if you have any like world jokes or world lore that you could expand out that doesn't affect the main story. So for example, I have this one joke in my one story that there was this guy who wrote this book and it was the worst book ever, and he was like a terrible person. So I can make up all these funny things about this random character he doesn't impact the story at all. His book, it doesn't even really impact it. It's like, oh, they took the cover off his book to hide another book, and that part is in the story, but everything else about this character has no impact on the plot. So I can just kind of run wild with it. And when I make up something new about him, like, oh, he died when his wife pushed him out a window because he left the ham out or something. I don't know. I can do ridiculous things like that and make that like a short story in an email and kind of build up hype that way for this thing that has nothing else to do with anything else in the story. So just kind of gets people invested. Like, if this crazy thing is happening in the background, what else is going on?
I did something like that as well. I had a background character that appeared in 3 issues and it didn't have an impact on the story. Some stuff happened to him, but then I went and told, hey, by the way, this happened, and there's a potential spin-off one day, maybe, but yeah.
And it could be anything. It could be a random character in a panel. It could be like if there's a particular pastry that's in one of the panels of your comic because it takes place in a coffee shop. Maybe there's something around that. You could do like the pastry is cursed, or I don't know. Just run wild with it. Have fun. It kind of gets people invested.
Yeah, I like that.
And then you're like making an inside joke with your audience too.
Any other thoughts or ideas?
What's the name again?
Crazy latte thing called love.
Crazy latte thing called love. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, that's what's been going through my head the whole time, practically.
It's working. It's
got a
working.
musical. It's it's got a musical element right off the bat. You know, you
need to do
a
a Letterman top 10 style of titles that didn't work out.
yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely
You
make
do
that
like
easily. Yeah.
little musical clips of, you know, imagery or different things just to get people's attention.
And this, folks, is why masterclass is good.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I have one film guy I work with that every time I come up with something, he'll come up with a 9-second clip and some type of imagery to go with it. You know, if I have imagery, that's good. If not, you know, he throws something up, but it has my content like words or ideas in there, and it gets people's attention just for that quick blip. And it's easy to throw up on Instagram and Facebook and wherever. So there's a lot you could do with even with the title, because it brings to mind, you know, the Queen song. In my case, I know it's been difficult between Kickstarters to try and get people's attention, but I noticed with my latest one that I posted what I was doing. I don't know if I'm just getting better at marketing or sales or something, but I posted last week about the Kickstarter start. I didn't even say when it was going to start this week, and I got, you know, probably 100 signups. And then I posted again, and I got another 50. And then I thought to myself, I haven't posted an image yet. So I've been posting these people describing what I'm going to do in such, you know, vivid detail that people are signing up. You know, they've bought from me before, but they're signing up. And then I had to say to myself, oh my, you know, I have all this art. I need to be posting the art. So I just posted the art today, you know. So sometimes you can bring people along on the ride with your descriptive prose. You know, we're all writers in some way. You know, it's not all visual. It's how you describe it. And if it's interesting to you, you can make it interesting to somebody else, I think. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. And then as you get a little bit closer to launch, you know, finding some ways to pull your audience a little bit more into the project, or get them to, you know, hey, here's a couple of cover concepts my artist just sent over. Which one of these do you think will make the best? You know, here, who, you know, what artists or what variant, you know, what artists would do great on this kind of story. Help us brainstorm some potential variant cover artists. Just any kind of input that you can get from your audience on the book as it's coming together, whether you take it or not, it still leads your audience to feel like they're invested in it before they even bought the thing. And then just because I know there's a lot of you with pre-launch pages up right now, you know, Vampires is at 161, Crazy Latte is at 55. I always love to give my audience a specific target, and we'll say something, and those are, hey, I'm trying to hit this number. Can you help us get to boom?
Yeah, actually went to 171 while we've been talking.
There you go. Yeah, gotta hit refresh. That's awesome. But you know, so Alton, you know, hey, we're trying to get to 200, and I just swapped in a new image, or I just on the page, or I'm trying, you know, help me. You know, what do you think? This one or that one? Vote with a notify me. Those kinds of like specific calls to action, rallying around a cause, can be the difference between people clicking it or not.
Makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Cool. Well, awesome. Adriano, any actions or things that you're gonna definitely do moving forward to help keep things warm before as the project comes together?
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like you know, expanding on kind of what's there beyond just waiting for art. You know, sounds like a great approach, and you know, whether it's, you know, the recipes or you know, taking a character and expanding on there, or, you know, there's a whole bunch of good ideas there. But the backlist really, yeah, I didn't even consider that for some reason. You know, shiny object, looking at the new thing and totally forgetting that there's other things that can be sold. I have boxes behind me that could be shipped out happily. So definitely, yeah, we'll use that. And then actually, there's a good comment in the chat as well about you know, in this case, I have an artist who has a good portfolio
Mhm.
of work out there that, you know, could have used that and say, this is the guy, this is the one that's going to be doing this project. So, you know, look at the work that's out there already. So yeah, a lot of good advice. I appreciate everything today. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey, we did it. One thing that you'll find if you ever join a ComixLaunch mastermind group is that we always start the sessions with wins and on a positive note, and then we always try to end them with a positive note. And so one of the things that I ask at the end of every session before we sign off is just for people to share their top takeaway or their top insight from just the time that we spent together. It could be related to their hot seat, or it could be something that came up for somebody else. But it's a great way to end the session on a high note and also recapitulate our learning, and so that it hopefully sticks a little bit more. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask each creator just to share one of their top takeaways or insights from tonight, and then also the best place to find out more about their work and follow their stuff heading into the new year. So let's begin where we started with Jack.
So I think one of the best insights that I saw from here from everyone is working really hard to take not just a step forward, but the best step forward. Each and every one of us is looking not just to go in any direction, but where it's going to help our creative journey the most. When all of us are in one way, shape, or form independent creators, our time is very limited. And one of the best things that we can possibly do is take a step back, reconsider, and make sure that first step is the best one. Once again, you can find my next Kickstarter coming up January 9th, and you can find it right there, Moved by the Spirit, on Kickstarter, the pre-launch page, and Interfaith Anthology.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. Let's jump over to Mark. What was your top takeaway from tonight, and then where can people find more about you?
My first takeaway is I'm definitely going to have a sleep before doing these midnight Zoom calls again, because I feel a lot better. I've done them before and I've drifted off near the end of it. So actually 10 to 3 in the morning here in Scotland. So it's fantastic. But I very much enjoyed today. I think the biggest thing especially is drawing off the energy and ideas of everyone. Basically, I've got a massive shopping list, and every question gave me a shopping list of things to do. And it's about being confident that the people signed up for my list for a reason. And I have a lot more things to share than I perceived. And as we got talking through this conversation, we just made it more clear that it's all the only thing I'm doing by not sharing is hindering myself from growing that list even more. And there's opportunities everywhere. So where you can find me at down the bottom there, markabnettcomics.com. And coming up, definitely Schism is coming up. Schism Death Becomes You. Might change that title by the time we get to the end of it. And that's over well over 100 pages of basically, we call it Atomic Blonde meets Kill Bill sort of thing, and post-apocalyptic Spain. And that'll be the full story, all done in one whole 100 pages, plus a glorious cover by Goran Parlov, illustrator of a lot of Punisher Max work. But yeah, it's thank you very much for having me tonight. It's been great just to feed off everyone's energy, even at 3 a.m.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for keeping the midnight oil running for us, Mark. We appreciate you. Alton, how about you? Top takeaway from tonight?
I definitely want to work on my email list skills. I think it's an important tool I can add to my tool chest. It's the one thing I'm not doing now that I think I should be doing. So that's one. And also MJ's idea with membership events. I want to definitely try that too. But everything tonight's been very helpful. To get other perspectives is always good, and to always be flexible, with learning what you're doing. And yeah, I can be reached at on Vampires of NJ on Instagram and Vampires of New Jersey on Facebook. I'm not just releasing Vampires #9. I'm also releasing volume that finishes volume 3 of the graphic novel. So now I have 3 volumes for that, and an art book that we usually do along with other things. And at this point in the last 3 years, since I took your course, Tyler, I've got 17 floppies, comic books, and 5 graphic novels. So I've, put out a good deal, and appreciate your time. And thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you being a part of this special session, Alton, and it's been a thrill to see you. Just once you get rolling, man, no stopping you. So that's great to see.
Thanks.
And MJ, what did you have for a top takeaway from tonight?
Oh, goodness. So many good things. Also feeling very energized talking with fellow comics creators. I don't get to do it often, but I always appreciate when I do. Just outside of what I heard in my own hot seat, one of the themes of tonight is, different ways to invigorate your audience and get people excited about you. And yeah, just reminding myself that even if I'm still working hard at a lot of behind the scenes things with production, there's still a lot of backlist stuff and items that I can share with my audience to get them excited, especially with the next Alchemist of Aurelia book coming out next year. I can definitely share a lot of stuff from the previous 3 books about that to remind people why they love it. And yeah, just a lot of good ideas there of ways that I can utilize this content I've already made and find those efficiencies with my business.
Way to tie it all together. And the best place for people to get more from you?
Yeah, you're going to want to join that email list, melissajmassey.com/welcome. You're going to be the first to hear about when my most recent book, Black Ball Issue 4, is going to go for pre-orders. You're going to be the first to know about when Alchemist 4 is ready for Kickstarter and get on that pre-launch page. And you're going to find out about a lot of other fun things that I'm working on. Also, we're getting into Eurovision season, so my annual email feature, National Final Song of the Week, is going to be coming up. So if you want to hear what I'm listening to this season, you're going to want to join me on my email list, and you do get a free comic, a nice hefty 16-page preview of The Alchemist of Aurelia. So yeah, join me over there. I would love to see you, and we're going to have a good time in my weekly newsletter. So
yeah. And worst case scenario, you'll see fun pictures of her cat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Melissa. And bringing us home, Adriano, what was your top takeaway from participating in the session? We're glad to have you.
Yeah. So the big thing is, it's be it to say a cliche, thinking outside the box. Talking to the other creators here. It's one of those things that I should have been able to think of it myself. It doesn't always have to just be, here's the work and this is why you should get it. If you can expand beyond that. So that's it's a huge takeaway. It's it doesn't just have to be, here's a panel. It could be something a little more expansive. And backlists. Backlists are very important as well. But yeah, that's a big takeaway. In terms of where you can find me, you see right there in the corner, pestocomics.com, nice and easy. And the next project, crazy latte thing called Love, pre-launch is up. But yeah, if you go to pestocomics.com, you'll get a link right to it. So you don't have to remember too much to get here.
All right. Well, appreciate having you on the podcast for the first time, Adriano, and glad to have you in this community. And we're looking forward to this great looking new book coming out from you in 2024. So
thank you.
Thank you for being here. And there we have it. Thank you, everyone. Again, it's not easy to come on here and just share things that and open up about your creative business, things that are going well, but also things that are troubling you a little bit. But it's very valuable, and we all can learn from things, and we all get reminded of kinds of things that, oh yeah, should be doing that, or oh, I was doing that, why did I stop doing that, or how do you do that again? And I even saw in the chat some people like, yes, we exposed you to some new ideas, or some people are like, oh, my email list is 0. Well, guess what? Everybody's email list starts at 0, but there's something that you can do about it. And so if you've heard something new, chances are there's a ComixLaunch podcast episode about it. So I want to encourage people to dive into our archive. And then for some creators that are just, kind of feeling the need for having more of this in their life, this is what we do in the ComixLaunch Mastermind. We talk about this kind of stuff. And so if you go to comixlaunch.com/mastermind, you'll get on our interest list. We will be reopening and for enrollment. We only do it twice a year. And we will be reopening in a couple of weeks and starting new groups in January 2024. So I would, if you're interested, please check us out and stay tuned to the ComixLaunch podcast over the next couple of weeks, because we'll be sharing more information about the mastermind and you'll be hearing more from these very creators. So on behalf of the whole crew here tonight, thank you for hanging with us, for watching us live, watching the replay, and listen to us on the podcast. We appreciate all of you, and we can't wait to see what you all launch next. Take care, everybody.